Welcome everyone. Welcome to this beautiful webinar where we will be talking about infertility, and my beautiful friend, dear Diana, will be sharing her infertility journey specifically and her wisdom, her tools that have helped her along the way, and what her journey looked like to now having a beautiful daughter. A little bit about me. I am a holistic health coach. I am Mastery Method certified as well. So my journey really started when I was starting to experience health symptoms. And over the course of the years, I accumulated around 30 different chronic symptoms and really was invited to drop into my own health journey and inquire what it takes to nourish my body, heal my body, and it improves their overall well-being, but also their relationships, their careers. It really trickles into every other areas of life. And that's why I love this holistic journey. And Deanna and I have been on a very similar path, and I would love for her to introduce herself now to give us an idea, and then we're going to jump into her fertility journey. So, Deanna, take us back to where your fertility journey started. Where were you? Give us an idea of what your life looked like.
Yes, so my fertility journey started about 5 years after I was married. And before that, my husband and I, we were just trying casually. And then we decided that we were ready for a family. And it was a lot more difficult than we had expected. So I got pregnant pretty early on in the journey. It was about 3 months in, but I ended up losing the pregnancy and it ended up in a miscarriage. And so at that point, I was confused. I thought that, this would be this happy experience, and it ended up being quite tragic. And I had to go through multiple surgeries because of some complications with the miscarriage. And then after that, when I was ready to try again, I actually ended up getting another miscarriage. So from there, I decided to go and seek some fertility treatments and get further testing. And that's when it was discovered that I had some hormone imbalance issues and low ovarian reserve. And I started going through the IVF process. And so that process took about 4 years before I decided that I was going to give up, because we had gone through multiple cycles. We weren't getting enough eggs. And when I was getting them, they were fertilizing, but I kept losing the pregnancies. So in total, I ended up with 6 miscarriages before I got pregnant with my daughter.
Wow. Yeah, that in and of itself is huge. Like, I mean, any woman that I have spoken to that sort of went through the process and the loss and the mourning of one pregnancy loss is big in and of itself. And I can only imagine how it would have been such a roller coaster ride for you to be on 6 of them. Like, talk to us a little bit around the ups and the downs of this journey.
So at first, I was in my circle of friends, I was one of the first ones who was starting a family. But so there, I didn't really have much support from my friends. And then a few years into it, all my friends ended up having their children, and I was left alone on this island of infertility. And so everyone was busy with their own lives and starting their family and on their second child, and some even on their third. And I was here just wondering, what was wrong with me? Did I do something to cause these miscarriages? Was it something I ate? Am I too stressed at work? So I really put a lot of this blame on myself. And so that ended up taking me into a different journey, right? It was, now I'm not only seeing fertility specialists, now I'm meeting with therapists and trying to find out more as to the why, because there was no family history of infertility. And no, everyone in my family was able to have a child without any miscarriages. So I couldn't even relate to anyone in the family. So even when I went through IVF, they said that there were some support groups that I could check out. And I found just one that was local, and they had an event once a month. And I showed up to the first event, and there was no one there. And so that was just the worst feeling at that point, because I'm just searching somewhere for some connection, for someone to tell me that they hear me, that I can tell my story and they could really listen to me.
For you, that you feel like helped you navigate through that time in your life? And just for us to give us a time frame. How old were you when you were experiencing this? I feel like that's important for people to know.
Yes. So I started IVF at 30 years old. And so I had my first pregnancies at 30, and then so it was 30 to, and close to turning 31. And so I from there, it took about 5 years total before I became pregnant at the age of 36. So it was around, I felt like I was already on the clock at that point. So think about, I'm 36 now with my 7th pregnancy. And so this entire time, I just felt like was these years of my life were like these lost years where I could have had maybe some joy if I had connected in a community of women who were in their 40s or late 30s and are getting pregnant with healthy babies. Because I thought I was on this island that I'm too old at age 31.
Mm.
And now you hear about all these stories, and I'm connecting people through Instagram who are able to have healthy pregnancies in their 40s now, naturally. It felt like my health was falling apart.
Mm.
And so I ended up having to explore different avenues because conventional medicine was just telling me what was wrong with me. And I needed to find some joy, some beauty in life to help me get over this and realize that there's more to life than just being sick, right? Because I was focusing on being sick and I was getting sicker and sicker. And I started the account at heal_infertility on Instagram. And so that really kept me honest with myself on, I do want to go out there and let people know that I would love to have a second child, even though I have these underlying conditions. And so when I did that and I opened myself up and I got vulnerable, the over a year that I've had this account, I've been flooded with positive messages from people who are older and younger, who have children who also want more and haven't been able to because they too have premature ovarian failure, or people who've never had children before and have premature ovarian failure, endometriosis, or PCOS, and they are looking for that one person who beat the odds.
Like, what can you share with people that are in your situation that you are in now, that may give them a sense of hope, a sense of comfort? What would you like to share with them?
I believe that we're not infertile because it's our fault. And when you really truly believe that it's not your fault, it's not in your genes, I mean, obviously there might be some accidents that might happen and it could lead to some physical issue, but in the case of a PCOS or endometriosis, uh, premature ovarian failure, that's not bad genes, and that it's not your fault. It's nothing that you ate or didn't eat. And it's not an exercise, or you went swimming one day and something. No, it's none of these factors, right? It's not your fault. You are at the perfect place at the perfect time. This is your opportunity to learn more about yourself. And this infertility journey ended up being the best thing that's ever happened to me, because now I'm pursuing my life's purpose and being able to help others and being involved in companies like SindyXR, where we have this purpose. So that could never have happened if I didn't go through an infertility journey. I think I have a story actually to share about, I went to two different IVF clinics. And the first one, after my first cycle didn't work, and then the subsequent egg transfers, they said that there's nothing more that they can do and that you can do egg donor and that's it. And so I went to the egg donor orientation. I got the packets and I was ready to mail in the check and start to look at this profile of women who are offering their eggs. And I broke down. I couldn't do it. I just felt like, this is not for me. I know that I can heal. I know that there's something that's wrong that I can heal from. And so I decided to do some research, and I found another doctor who specialized in premature ovarian failure and IVF. And at our first meeting, she said, as long as you're getting a period, you have a chance of having your own child. After she said that, I can't even describe the weight that was lifted and the validation that I intuitively knew was true. But I had this professional who said it, and she was so compassionate. And, the IVF cycles didn't work with her, but she never ever said, it's time for you to give up. You can't have your own child. Whereas the other clinic was telling me this. And so because I think she gave me that compassion, I still had this hope that maybe it would work one day. And it did. What if I just gave up and just said, I wouldn't have had the experiences that I have today.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, that's coming back to what you said earlier. Like, I just wonder what it would be like if, I just imagine this candle, and I just wonder if we were to come back to coming together, even if it's through online spaces such as SindyXR, and just be there with one another and like give each other this sense of the lit candle, like just passing it on from like one being to another in a sense of hope. Like that really in and of itself can be such a healing experience, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I love the analogy you used about lighting the candle and passing it on. And that's exactly the feedback that I'm getting, why I continue to share my story and why I think it's important, because of these small rays of hope and that someone can get by reading my story. And
Wow, like you are such a resilient woman, like such a strong, resilient woman, to not be accepting your diagnoses, but to run with this sense of, I know that there is something greater, that there is greater well-being out there for me, and to fully invest in yourself in that way, which, yeah, I really acknowledge you for that. So what do you feel like you want to leave listeners with as we wrap up this beautiful webinar? What is something that you would like to make sure they walk away with?
That there's always a community out there, and there's always someone else that is out there that's going through what you're going through. There's so many people out there, and it's just about finding those connections, and that these chronic illnesses are not your fault, and that you can heal.
Amen to that. Yes, so much yes. Thank you, Diana. Thank you for sharing your story so vulnerably, so authentically. And yeah, I truly hope that this candle is getting passed on to everyone listening. So thank you.
Thank you, Annika.